They thought my wife was an easy target. A group of fake HOA cops showed up at our house, demanding payments for a neighborhood I didn't even belong to. When she refused, one of them laid hands on her. What they didn't know? Her husband, me, was a Navy SEAL, and I was coming home that night. It started on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. My wife, Emily, was home alone, watering the garden behind our small farmhouse on the edge of town. We'd bought the place to escape HOA nightmares. No board meetings, no nosy neighbors, no endless fees. The nearest community was a mile away, an upscale neighborhood that fancied itself a gated paradise. But somehow, their self-appointed queen, Karen Douglas, decided our land fell under her authority. The first time she showed up, Emily politely explained we were outside HOA limits. Karen sneered, waving a stack of papers and muttering about zoning oversight. Emily smiled, wished her a good day, and shut the door. But Karen wasn't used to hearing no. That Tuesday, she came back, not alone. 3 men in tactical vests and black polos labeled HOA enforcement piled out of a black SUV. They looked official enough to fool anyone, radios, badges, even sidearms. Emily noticed one carried a clipboard and another a holstered weapon. She stepped onto the porch, wiping her hands on a towel. "Can I help you?" she asked. The tallest one stepped forward, sunglasses glinting. "Ma'am, we're with the Homeowners Association Enforcement Division. You've failed to pay HOA dues for 3 months. We're here to collect or issue a lien on the property." Emily frowned. "You've got the wrong house." "We're not part of your HOA." Karen appeared from behind them, smirking. "Actually, you are. This entire road is under our jurisdiction. Refusal to comply will result in fines and legal consequences." Emily's patience wore thin. "Karen, this property's been outside your little club since the 1950s. My husband checked the county records himself." Karen's smile twisted. "Then maybe your husband can explain that in court. But for now, my officers will need to inspect the premises." That's when Emily stepped between them and the door. "You step foot on my property and I'll call the real police." The shorter man laughed, a deep, ugly sound. "Lady, we are the police." Before she could react, the tall one shoved her shoulder. "Move aside." Emily stumbled back, shocked. "Don't touch me," she snapped, reaching for her phone. But before she could dial, the shorter thug punched her, a hard, deliberate blow to her cheek that sent her crashing against the porch railing. Karen screamed, "Stop! Stop!" But there was no panic in her voice, only mock surprise. Emily managed to crawl back inside and slam the door. They pounded on it for a few seconds before retreating, leaving tire marks in the dirt. When she finally called the sheriff, help took nearly an hour to arrive. The deputy took her statement, nodded grimly, and said they'd look into it. But Emily could tell they didn't believe her. To them, it was just another dispute with the local HOA. But when I got her call that night, her voice trembling, I didn't just believe her. I saw red. I'd been on base when she called, just finishing a field exercise with my unit. The second I heard what happened, that some fake cops had laid hands on my wife, something inside me snapped. I wasn't just angry. I was tactical. By morning, I'd made a few calls. One to a friend in the county sheriff's department, another to a private investigator who owed me a favor. Within hours, I had everything I needed. The HOA enforcement division wasn't real. It was a front Karen's husband created, a fake company registered under his name, supposedly to protect neighborhood standards. The 3 men were ex-cons, hired muscle paid to intimidate anyone who didn't comply. I drove home that afternoon, adrenaline surging. When I saw Emily's bruised face, my jaw clenched so tight it hurt. "You okay, Em?" I asked quietly. She nodded, but her eyes glistened. "I didn't think they'd actually hit me. I just wanted to stand my ground." I kissed her forehead. "You did. Now it's my turn." That night, I set up cameras. Motion sensors, floodlights, everything I'd learned from years in the field. If they came back, they'd have nowhere to hide. Then I waited. It didn't take long. 2 nights later, at 11:47 p.m., my cameras pinged. 3 figures approached our property, flashlights off, moving quiet but not quiet enough. I recognized them instantly. The same fake cops. Karen stood behind them in her SUV, headlights off. I slipped out the back door, staying low, my tactical instincts alive. When the first one reached for the porch door, I spoke from the shadows. "You boys lost." They froze. Who's there? Homeowner, I said, stepping into the moonlight. The one whose wife you assaulted. The tall one smirked, though I saw his hand twitch toward his holster. You shouldn't make threats, buddy. We're just doing our job. You want a job? I said evenly. You'll get 1 breaking rocks in county jail. Then I moved. It took 6 seconds. 1 elbow strike, a knee to the gut, and a chokehold dropped the first guy. The second lunged, swinging a baton. I caught it midair, twisted his wrist, and slammed him into the railing. The third reached for his gun, but he wasn't fast enough. I disarmed him and sent him sprawling into the dirt. When Karen screamed, I turned to her SUV. You're next if you don't leave now. She stammered something about calling the police. Go ahead, I said. Tell them your fake cops got their faces rearranged. When the real sheriff's deputies arrived, I was sitting calmly on the porch. 3 groaning thugs lay zip-tied on the ground, their fake badges scattered like trash. The deputies' eyes widened when I showed them the camera footage. Clear as day, the attack on my wife and their attempted break-in. This time they believed every word. By dawn, all 3 were in custody, along with Karen and her husband, charged with assault, impersonating law enforcement, and conspiracy to defraud. The fallout was explosive. The local news got hold of the story. Fake HOA police assault veteran's wife, ex-Navy SEAL responds. Cameras swarmed the sheriff's office. Reporters camped outside the courthouse. Karen and her husband tried to claim it was a misunderstanding, but the footage told the truth. Her hired thugs had assaulted an innocent woman and tried to extort money from homeowners. The sheriff held a press conference. We've uncovered an illegal organization posing as a homeowners enforcement agency, he said. They targeted non-HOA residents for intimidation and fraudulent collections. We're grateful to Mr. Brooks for his bravery and cooperation. Karen and her husband were sentenced to 6 years for fraud and conspiracy. The 3 enforcers faced assault and impersonation charges, all pled guilty. But the real victory wasn't in the courtroom. It was at home. Emily healed fast, and one evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, she laughed softly. You know, I think Karen finally learned what a real enforcement officer looks like. I smiled. Yeah, and next time she wants to play police, maybe she'll remember her fake badge doesn't work against a Navy SEAL. The town changed after that. People stopped letting the HOA bullies push them around. Homeowners started checking deeds, questioning authority, and calling out scams. The fake HOA police dissolved overnight, their name now a warning, not a threat. A few weeks later, one of the deputies, the same one who doubted Emily at first, stopped by to shake my hand. I owe you one, he said. You cleaned up a mess we should have seen coming. I didn't say much. I didn't have to. That night, as I tucked Emily into bed, the wind rustling through the trees, I finally felt peace again. Not just because justice had been served, but because no one, not even fake cops, would ever threaten my family again. And somewhere in the county records, buried deep under legal archives, a single line now stood corrected. Brooks property, non-HOA. Protected by owner, trespassers beware. Because in our home, law didn't come from frauds with fake badges. It came from truth, honor, and a SEAL who'd die before letting fear take root again.